by the time of Isha, he could not move. And when he could not move, it is like 10 men together could not move. Not like when you or when I don't know about you, Hafizakumullah, or when I fall sick and I think I can't move when probably I could move. He could not move, and he lost consciousness. He woke up for a moment, and the first thing he said, "Asalla an-nas?" The first thing he said, "Asalla an-nas?" Did people perform their salah? Aisha, our mother, in whose presence he died, she said, "La ya Rasulallah, فإنهم في انتظارك." No, ya Rasulallah, they are still waiting for you. They have hope. Then he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "Bring me al-Maghrab, this big vessel with water, cool fresh water." He entered inside of it and he refreshed himself and bathed and got out to get some strength. And as he stood up to walk to inside the masjid, he fell. أغمي عليه. And he lost consciousness. He wakes up a while later. The first thing he says, "Asalla an-nas? Asalla an-nas? Asalla an-nas?" "La ya Rasulallah, hum fi intizarik." He tries that again, washes and tries to get up, and he can't, and he falls thrice. Asalla an-nas. Finally, he appointed Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu to lead Salatul Isha. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq led Salatul Isha of Thursday night, and the Fajr Salah of Monday, and 3 days in between. The scholars say about 17 salawat were led by Abu Bakr in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And that means a lot for those who think and reflect. Monday morning, Fajr time, Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu is the Imam of the believers. Suddenly, the curtain opens. From the private quarters of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and that door opened directly into the masjid. In the front rows of the masjid, the curtain is open, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is standing at that door. Seeing Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu leading his ummah in salah. The last sight from this dunya, of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam was his ummah in salah. His ummah united in salah. that was the last sight of his ummah. They were so elated, so happy. قال أنس كادوا يفتتنون في صلاتهم فرحا برسول الله. Out of joy, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam now is healed. They thought he came to lead us again. No, he did not. When he looked at them, he smiled. تبسم وضحك. He smiled and then he closed the curtain. And went back. Until duha time. His beautiful, in every way, daughter Fatima alayha salam wa radiyallahu anha came to him, and he called her and whispered a few words in her ears, and she wept. And he called her again, and he whispered a few words in her noble ears, and she smiled. Later she was to say that the first few words he whispered into my ears were, "I will die." She wept. The next words he whispered in her ears were, "You will be the first one of my household to join me." She smiled. And yes, 6 months later, she joined him. The last, very last seconds, minutes. Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma enters the private quarters of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And he's laying in the arms of Aisha against her noble chest. And Abdul Rahman was carrying a miswak. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Aisha, who read with her eyes of her head and her eyes of her heart every move, external and internal, of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it seems, she said, I knew as he looked at Abdul Rahman that he perhaps wanted siwak. At that moment, Ya Rasulullah, at that moment, she said, I told him, would you like the siwak, Ya Rasulullah? He moved his head, yes. She took it from him, and then she never forgot this to be one of her most special privileges with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قالت اختلط ريقي بريقه عند موته. My saliva mixed with his at the moment of his death. For she said to him, as the siwak was hard, she said, shall I soften it for you? He moved his head. Yes. She took it in her noble, sweet mouth and softened it and gave it to him, and he took it in his mouth. Right after that, his head, his eyes. And said, moved his sweet lips. And Aisha said, he said, مع الذين أنعمت عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين اللهم اغفر لي وارحمني اللهم الرفيق الأعلى اللهم الرفيق الأعلى اللهم الرفيق الأعلى. With those whom you graced from among the Nabiyeen and the Muqarrabeen and the Shuhada and the Salihin. Oh Allah, forgive me. Oh Allah, grant me rahmah. Oh Allah, the company of the Most High. Oh Allah, the company of the Most High. Oh Allah, the company of the Most High. أحبك يا رسول الله. أحبك يا رسول الله. الصلاة, my brothers and sisters, الصلاة وذكر الموت. أكثروا من ذكر هذه اللذات. Remember often the destroyer of passions, said he to us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remember more often death, my dear brothers and sisters. It will give you more life. موتوا قبل أن تموتوا, as he said. For those who understand this language, for yes, we evolve and we change and we mature. His level was for the muqarrabun, for the salihun, for the seekers of the gate of love of Allah and His Rasul. Mutu qabla an tamutu. Die before you die. Die away from the nafs, from the appetites of the nafs, from the hawa of the nafs. The last words of the sweetest of all human beings were these words: As-salah, as-salah, as-salah.